So you can wake up. I think we had them join you all in the hide. So I think for what it's worth, you are back inside of the Martikov's hide where you first met them. We'll pick up with kind of that 6-person group of the 3 of you, the 2 hunters, as well as Sophia. And you'll kind of notice around that time that Vox as well as Lenya have left the party and seem to have wandered off. So, while you all wake up, is there anything you would initially like to do as you come to? Are we still pretty set on the idea that the group will be heading towards Vallaki in the morning and looking for the Martikovs inside of the city? That would be all sleep at this point. So like no, you guys won't even have a wagon. Unless you wanted to kind of take a day that you are recovering, around this area, there's not necessarily any time for downtime. Yeah, I think in general, like in the year of when I played this campaign, I think it like boiled down to less than 2 weeks, like about 14 days of actual play in the game. This is not necessarily a campaign that ever arrives with, we're taking it easy, relaxing. There's pretty much always things that are pulling you in every direction. So if you all are ready to leave, the brothers will, I keep calling them brothers, the hunters will take a few moments to themselves, and they will start to prepare and pack up some goods and start to prepare to essentially make your way back towards Vallaki. I didn't realize that I fell asleep, but I did not notice. It is my fault, I am sorry. We did. It is our way to travel where others dare not. It will be safe enough for us to travel via the roads. Are you all prepared for the day's travel? So it's a pretty simple start to the day. You all are already out of the main danger at the Wizard of Wines. They kind of cut through the initial part of the woods where you had seen them walking previously. And you see not too far away from that point, they actually had another camp that was set up, not in an actual clearing, but actually inside of a thicket. But you can kind of see like the entry point where they seem to have kind of burst through the actual briars as they started to make way towards your noise. And then it's probably about another like 15 or so minutes before you come out of those trees and you are just south of the ridge over the Raven River. And that's at the point where Old Svalich Road starts to turn off towards the Wizard of Wines. So they pass through a good bit of the actual woods there to divert and pass by the actual road. But at that point, they kind of rejoin the road, and your walking from then on is a little bit more clear. There's still certainly like a hesitancy to the way they are walking. They are still holding like vigil to try to keep their attention on movement in the trees, anything that might be coming up. They have a pretty good sense of the areas where you are coming around blind corners, where they'll actually start to lead you through the woods a little bit. So you start to like cut off the corners, and they're able to avoid those points. So like when you start to get like, say there's less than a quarter of a mile to where the road kind of disappears, they'll cut that corner, so you walk through the woods, and then they're able to, at their decision, step from the trees. And it's like that same idea where they've cut like that extra quarter of a mile off is now behind you, and you've got clear road ahead of you. So they do a pretty good job of cutting the blind paths of this road, and very clearly you're able to notice that their prowess around this region, as well as their ability to navigate through these woods, is quite adept. And they're able to make these cuts. You guys find yourselves crossing over the River Luna, probably around midday, and it is just after the, it's not a sun, high light, that you come upon Vallaki inside of you. And you still see signs of burning. Your view is from a lower point, so most of what you're seeing at this point is kind of the smoke rising into the sky. But one of the decisions that you'll have ahead of yourselves at this point is if you would like to enter Vallaki from the west, which is closest, the north, which you've not gone through yet, or through the east. And on some level, I think the brothers, damn it, the hunters could share with you all that among the attacks, St. Andrew's Church was one of the initial places that was attacked. It is up to you how you would like to enter the city, but it is perhaps best if we are able to enter as unnoticed as possible. Yesterday was the Festival of the Sun, and some people had another celebration in mind. I believe Urwin saw things before they were happening for others. He sent us away as soon as we returned from having left you all to visit the swamp. We did not have any leisure time to where we figured out what it was. And as we were leaving the valley, we saw the first fires. It could be many things that have happened here, but more than likely, it is something between the Wachters and the Valakovich. The Wachters have long understood themselves as the rightful rulers of this land, and the Valakovich family is little more than blood of those who were once conquered by the lord of these lands. Urwin is the bartender, and it is the son of Davy and Martikov. Yep. At this point, he is your invisible patron. Yeah, I'm not sure what I missed in the Blue Water Inn, but I felt like I needed to slap you all with a brick to get you all to realize that that was an important place for you to be, because you guys would not talk to anyone. It is. They, like, do not exist in this campaign. They do indeed. The walls are still plenty intact, so we can do what we can to sneak in from any of the gates at this point. We could certainly scout the outer reaches of Vallaki and take that time before we try to enter. For what we know, Old Svalich Road is the main entries, both to the east and the west. But if we take the time to go to the north entry, we will still have to pass by the Wachter house. So if it was indeed the Wachters who arose, we may find we have walked closer to the danger. But if there is an entryway that is lesser, it is the northern one. When we were sent away, Urwin told us only to leave. If they are holding up in the city, they are still at the Blue Water. Then we shall go for the northern gate. It may be best for us to pass as far out of view as possible into the woods, unless you all would prefer a quicker route. It is not likely that there would be anybody watching to the north of the town, but it is up to you to decide. So as you all are cutting through the forest, making your ways behind the hunters, one ahead, one behind, you're going to see as damn, I'm not like on that actual page for the notes, but Szoldar is going to raise his hand and drop it low as he starts to crouch at the head of the column of you all. What is the marching order between Szoldar and Yevgeni right now? So we'll do Sophia between Flea and Kavi, and then Yevgeni at the back. So, as you are cutting through the trees, you see as a creature starts to walk by almost parallel to you all on the same path, but it's probably about 30 feet off to the northwest of where Szoldar is right now. And he'll kind of point it off to you. Let me have you all make perception checks. DC will be 14, and right behind Szoldar, you can have advantage on Sarkis. Doesn't matter. So as you look ahead, as he points out this creature, you very quickly recognize this is another one of the wild men. This is a druid, and it seems to have like a moving form around it. And within a few moments of kind of glancing, you're able to pick up that this creature is surrounded by blights right now. You guys are inside of the woods right now. You're kind of cutting through that northwestern, and they're heading in the same direction. So on this map, essentially what you did is kind of like going to cut for that. And we'll say you're like around this area where you spot them. That's probably a little bit too far away, but you kind of spot them a little bit to, let's actually go a little bit towards. You're about 30, 35 feet. So what would you all like to do is Sarkis turns to you, and I assume on some level, like, they look kind of clueless, so you can actually tell them it's a druid with some blights. No, you're the only one who saw them with those rolls. So how would you all like to react to these blights that you are effectively behind, and have caught them at least at present at unawares? You cannot make it out at this point, but it seems like the druid is surrounded by them. What are you doing with this, Kavi? Either roleplay that with the group or tell me what you're thinking. They are probably about 40 feet away from this point. They are moving further away. They are indeed. So, at this point, what would you like to do? Roll a stealth check. Uh, you get about 20 or so feet behind them before, as you're moving through the forest, there's actually like a tree branch that cracks well above your head and falls. For all you can tell, it's the wind above, and as it falls down, it slams down into the ground right near you, and the druid turns around, and as they look towards this sound, you are making eye contact with the druid. At this point, it's going to go to initiative, but you can start to plan what you are doing as a reaction to this going down. How it plays out, there's not going to be any surprise. So it's the start of your turn is happening. For what it's worth, I can honestly just keep initiative on my sheet. I don't expect this to be a combat. Alright, so Flea is holding an arrow to take a shot. Roll your shot. As you see the druid spin, you release your arrow, and about halfway through its flight, it pings off a little twig, and it just shoots off to the side. That arrow is going to be lost. And it will go to one of the blights is going to start to close in on Sarkis, and it is going to try to claw at him. And it's going to miss, as he is effectively, I assume, about to like charge into the druid. The blight is just a little bit too slow to gather, and it will go to Kavi. I believe that is going to resist your DC. What happens when Crown of Madness is a save? Gotcha. Anything else from you? You're probably about 40, 45 feet from the action. Or I guess 40, 45 feet from the druid. And Sarkis is probably about 25, 30 feet from you. Almost in a triangle. And then it's going to go to a couple of blights here. You can't. You already used your action. I assume Crown of Madness is an action. So the next three blights are all going to move. I think towards the main. Yeah, I feel like they'll move towards the main group at this point. So you'll have a blight kind of getting into each of you, and we will have two blights on Kavi and one blight on Flea. And then it is going to go to another blight that is going to charge into Sarkis, and it's going to claw at him and also miss. So right now, Sarkis, you've got two blights on you. Kavi has two, and then a fifth is on Flea. And it's going to go to Sarkis. 20 feet. And I think at this point, all of you can recognize these blights are the weak-ass blights. They are not big threats. Go for the druid. Both of them are going to swing out at you, and each of them are going to miss as you're just deftly moving past them. Or quarterstaff. Let's see if it can connect. Give me a second. That's going to connect. As you bash into the druid, you hear it hit flesh. This is the first time you've attacked a druid, and it was not a barky, hollow sound as you smash into it. That will hit. Kind of tilts its head at you. Let's see. The druid is going to respond as it mutters words in your presence. Again, this language is something that just doesn't even resound with you. It sounds very much like babble, and it doesn't really have even syllables that seem even remotely traditional to you. And as it weaves this spell, it is going to drop its hand, and you'll see as its flesh starts to harden, and you see as little twigs start to grow from its flesh, and the druid moves a little bit slower, and there's almost a creak to its flesh as that hand lowers. The spell kind of finishes, and you can gather that this druid just became a little bit harder to hit. And then 2 more blights are going to move up to you, Sarkis, and they're going to swing on you. What is it? They've got a +3, so 2. That's a lot of doubles from those blights. So the 2 are going to swing at you, each of them missing you, and it is going to go back to the top of the order on Flea. What are you doing with your bow? You've got your bow out and you want to draw 2 daggers. How do you want to do that? If you take a shot with your bow, you are in melee combat. It's going to be a disadvantage. Do you want to break away from the blights and move closer to Sarkis and the druid and take a shot mid-movement? The 2 are going to swing at you. One of them is going to hit, and you're going to take 5 piercing damage as you're clawed across your back as you step out of their combat. Take a shot at the druid. If you get a hit, this can certainly be a kill. I think you can use your reaction to lower it and take 2 damage instead of 5. Oh, wait a second. You only had 1 on you, Flea. I'm sorry. You don't have any of them hit because the one that would have swung on you would have been that 1. My apologies. So you leave that combat, it swipes and misses you. You're able to step away. As you ping the arrow into the druid, it stabs into one of these new growths, and Sarkis actually sees as the arrow pierces into one of these little little bits of tree that's growing out of it, right into the knot of its arm. And yeah, that's going to be the KO of the druid, as it's dropping this bark skin, you're like right into a weak point, and this creature just starts to gush out like a combination of like a bloody sap, as it will fall over dead next to Sarkis. And then it is going to go. How close do you move to Sarkis? He's probably 35, 40 feet away from you. Gotcha. So two blights. Actually, it's one blight before copy goes. So one blight is going to run towards Flea and swing at him. This one's going to hit, and it will do 3 piercing damage to you. Same idea. If you want to use that uncanny dodge, it's your reaction. All right, so take 1 damage. I think uncanny dodge is just something you get. And then it's going to go to Coffee. You have 2 blights on you. There's another blight that is near you, that was right next to where Flea is. It's probably 10 feet away from you at this point. And then you see another blight has moved up to Flea, and 2 blights are on Sarkis, about 35 feet ahead of you. There's just blights right now. No. Sarkis, Flea just killed the druid. All right, let's see the attack. You're going to swing out and just kind of like glance right off of the bark, and it doesn't even seem like your rapier bit into it at all. So let's see. Another blight that was on Flea is going to chase him down and move back into combat with him. The next 2 are going to swing on Kavi. I think both of those are going to hit. 16 is the lowest. They're going to do 10 piercing damage as they claw into you. And then I think the next blight is on. I think it was on Sarkis where he was. It's going to charge back up and into combat with Sarkis. And it will go to Sarkis. You've got 3 blights on you now. It just disintegrates. Nice Boondock Saints reference. The unarmed strike, as you like open palm this creature, it just like kind of pushes back a little bit, and you see as it like gives you like an evil grin, and it's going to like flex on you as it does like a little bit of a taekwondo kind of like arm like flex, and it's going to swing back at you. It should hit with a 19, and it will deal 4 piercing damage to you. And then it's going to go back to top of the order on Flea. Right now, each of you has 1 on you, and you're probably like 15 feet from Kavi and 15 feet from Sarkis. That's probably about where everything kind of sits here. So you've got your daggers. I guess really you've got a dagger, but you can pull the other dagger out as a free action, and you've got your attacks here. First will hit. That will kill. And the second attack. This one will just be the straight D4. That will hit. Yeah, that's a roll of a 4. That's the kill. So both of those blights are killed. They are the next two, one of them is the next in order. It will go to Kavi. Right now, you and Sarkis both have 2 blights on you. Oh, my bad. Also, you can move if you would like to flee. Whether you want to move into Sarkis's aid or towards Kavi's aid. You don't know that. But it will go to Kavi. If you look over there, I don't think she's bloodied at this point, but if she's bloodied, you can see that. But I think you probably also know that Sarkis is probably not too worried about being in melee combat. Damn, I feel like it would have played into your initiative. I think it is actually all of your D20 rolls. But offhand, I am not as sure about. Oh wait, was I not pushing talk there? Oh yeah. That's why I like say on a regular basis, there is no good solution push to talk. Yeah, it is 2 attack rolls. It's attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. So I think that pretty well covers like all D20 rolls. Same thing. It's just kind of like moving out of your way, and as you connect like a little bit with the wood, it just glances off with not doing any damage to the creature. Vicious Mockery is a good response to these as well. You're doing good damage, and that puts the save on them. It's not you making a roll. But they are going to attack you back here. I believe a 12 is a miss. I think your AC is 13. And then one is going to attack Sarkis. And that's going to miss him as it tries to claw at you. Sarkis, you still have 2 blights on you. Flea is running back towards Kavi, and Kavi has 2 blights on her. What would you like to do? Your staff is going to go a little bit wide and just kind of pink off of its bark with a miss. Same one or the other one? Gotcha. I don't know if it has shins, but you can kick it in its root and you break the trunk off of the root. I feel like these are much smaller than you. And then the last one is going to swing out at you, Sarkis. And it's going to miss. Oh, my bad. You also had movement. So that attack could be just its reaction to you running if you moved away. Gotcha. And then it's going to go back to Flea and Kavi, essentially attacking the 2 on Kavi. That's a hit. Should be a pretty much guaranteed kill. How many sneak attack dice do you have now? Yeah, that's a guaranteed kill on the first one. And the second one will hit, and that is what, 3 damage? So that one's going to remain alive. Kavi, response to the last remaining blight. And then Sarkis, you can also roll your attacks on the blight you have. You're gonna see as some of its branches reach towards like the peak. I don't actually know what the point is where the branches, like where the trunk stops and the branches are all that remains, but it kind of reaches up, and as its head shakes, this thing just like explodes from the top down, kind of like when you see a tree that's been struck by lightning, how it splits, and there's little more than firewood ahead of you. And Sarkis, as you swing into the creature, you smash through it with your quarterstaff, and apparently drop a high heel kick, but really you lifted your foot maybe a foot off of the ground for this high heel, and you just drop it into what remains of the creatures on the ground, just to kind of remind it you're nothing but mulch. You're right over the druid. Go for it. Yeah, at disadvantage. uh, you look through the druid and you find a few coins on it. It's got let's go with 5 gold pieces. 5 gold pieces. You can find another dagger to give her. You can find a crude dagger on it. So you guys continue through the forest for probably another half hour or so. It's just beyond noon. So if you could probably take some time to actually have a bite to eat in the forest before you actually head out. But you can get towards the end of the clearing. You'll have Lake Zarovich to your left, to the north of you. And then you've got a small, lesser-used road that kind of leads to from this. It's about a half mile between the peak of Vallaki and Lake Zarovich. And you can see, if you step to the edge of the woods, you can see the gates of Vallaki. I swear I set up a picture to share of the gates, and I don't see it. Oh, it's not a picture, that's why. So as you glance and take a look, I guess realistically this picture should be the opposite direction. But as you glance and take a look over the scene, you see bodies around the outside of this gate, and it seems like the guards have been slaughtered. The gate seems to be closed. Wait a second. I feel like that would be the better one. Let's go for the gate seems to be left cracked open. These homes out here all seem relatively intact. Um, I would say at this point there's no smoke billowing from them. But you are welcome to take a look if you would like. Roll for a stealth. And roll an investigation at disadvantage. As you glance over all of the bodies, it seems that all of them seem to be some sort of blade weapon used to cut them. Roll an investigation. And you feel like you spot one who looks like he's more well dressed. What are you searching for? What kind of weapons are you searching for? What is a good weapon? You guys will never find high quality stuff on dead bodies. Anything that you find in the wild has no value at all, essentially, unless it's effectively like a magical weapon. You can find 1 arrow. And 2 gold coins on it. Go for a perception check and follow it with a stealth. As you look through and actually spot through the gate, you see signs that while there is death and destruction like on this side of the gate, on the outside, it seems like things were worse to this side of the gate. The initial houses that are just along the actual road coming in from Lake Svelovich are already burnt down, and there's little more than ashes there. So there is a pretty solid like clearing as the road kind of continues forward. You can see off in the distance, probably about like say a quarter of a mile or so, the Wachter house that you all visited. I think it was like 3 days ago at this point. And kind of just looking through, doesn't appear to be that anybody's on this side of the gates at this point. Where are y'all going as you break through there? Like, what is your thought where you would like to sneak? As much as possible, I need you guys to lead this with like ideas, not simply saying I can do that or I'd like to stealth. Like, try to describe to me what you would like to do in the scenes that I'm putting before you. Like these houses are burned down ruins. Um, I feel like there would be kind of like goods and things around this. I don't know if there's meant to be a basement, but you just want to kind of like take cover behind the left ruins. You would spot the Wachter house off in the distance. In this area, there's still many houses that seem to be burned down off in that distance. There's some goods that didn't burn up in the fire, but like pretty much everything in that picture is burned. This is a representation, not the reality before you guys. As you kind of move beyond that house, you see signs that like the trees beyond caught fire in the burning. And you see again like sporadic view of a lot of these houses in this area have been burned, and then some have been seemingly saved by the fire. So it's pretty sporadic what you can see before you as Vallaki kind of reaches forward. There's probably maybe like 1 in 3 houses seems to be standing, and many of the others have burned. A little more what? You are entering the northern part of Valka. You're clicking Blue Water Inn. Wachter House was one of these, essentially, it was described as essentially a mansion on the northern end of Vallaki, where it had like a lot of very similar huts kind of built up around it. And it was essentially set up as um, she has almost like signs like her servants live near her, and they all live in kind of like day shacks almost. You would spot an occasional body as you're going through here. Most of them at this point are going to be civilians that you will see. You spotted 6 guards on your way in, and not sure if it came up, but that's a pretty solid portion of the guards that Vallaki had at hand. They usually kind of are split across their shifts, and all of their guards work a shift every single day. So you guys have a pretty good impression at this point that if Vallaki had its guards slaughtered at one entrance, it might have had its guards slaughtered at all of its entrances. And if all of its guards were slaughtered at the 3 entrances, that's half of the guards that this city was able to bring to arms. And they are all dead. As you enter, you spot people here and there. many of them near the actual burnt down houses. You'll spot that there are less bodies around the houses that are not burned down. And when they are bodies that you see, most of those will be near a burnt down house that's like next to a house that isn't burnt down. So it's pretty safe to assume the houses that got burned were not the people who were in this revolt, and the houses that remain are perhaps those people who were in revolt. The people who burned this place down. You start to spot as you go further and further into the city, the different like posted signs for the celebration of the blazing sun. And it's not long afterwards where you start to see areas where like those are torn down and like nailed to the same piece, or stuck to bodies in blood. You see another piece of paper that looks quite similar, but just a little bit different. So let's take a break here, come back in the next few minutes, and we will rejoin as you guys are essentially approaching the Wachter house, and now have a pretty good understanding that while you've been gone, Lady Wachter has been quite busy, and perhaps that this is no longer Valkovich, and maybe now, or Vallaki, and perhaps now this is Wachterkai? I'm not really sure how it would happen. Let's jump back into the Wachter house here. You guys can be approaching from the north, effectively having somebody coming up against like the last few houses to like the northwest of Wachter house. And then I think Sarkis would be almost east of Wachter house, coming up behind the houses across the street, having that same kind of view. And you guys can decide how you would like to progress there. You would notice the closer you get to Wachter house, the less houses that are actually burnt down. Again, giving you that confirmation that she was doing what she could to build up houses directly around her house. And it gives a vague perception at this point of they're not like walled in, but it's almost like each house is kind of like the turret of the outer walls of a castle, and that you would have to do little more than like wall between these houses, and her house would be protected by a courtyard around it of other small houses that are almost all essentially identical.
Oh, so I'll just like sneak back over to where everybody else is, and I'll like grab one of those flyers and take it with me.
Yeah, of course, you guys can take some time to actually discuss what you would like to do here as well to try to figure it out. You don't have to immediately jump back in. Part of the idea of taking more regular breaks is to both keep everybody actually engaged as well as give those opportunities where you guys can brainstorm.
Looks like the Walkers were behind this. I suspect that the Volkovich is dead.
Yes.
Shall we try and confront them, or should we see if we can rendezvous with the Martikovs?
I don't think we have the strength to confront them. I think it's best to head to the inn.
Yeah. Yes. Let's just gather information for time.
Sounds good to me. If we do encounter them, we can always act as if we're allies. We did just come from Strahd's and did him a great deed, so perhaps they'll buy it if we're convincing enough.
Shall we go then?
Yes, I think sneaking to the Blue Water Inn sounds good.
So you're essentially kind of like northwest of Wachter House at that point. There is a certain level of there's trees in between where you are and like the turnabout where Blue Water Inn is more or less like half of that horseshoe of that part of Vallaki. So if you'd like, you're kind of like right around here, and Blue Water Inn is effectively this portion. So if you guys would like, you can go off the street or you can move back to the street. You can kind of decide how you would like to approach Blue Water Inn.
Is that the town? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Off the street for me.
Is that the town square, like right in front of the Blue Water Inn, or where would we know like that was referring to?
I think you all went to the town square before you left. I think you met somebody in the stocks. The town square is that lower portion. And then oh shit, what is it? I feel like the Burgomaster's was this place. The town square was there. You met Vasily here. The church is over on the west. And I think that's most of what you've done here in Vallaki.
Okay, yeah. If the town square is not on the way, I think stick to the Blue Water Inn, and then I think next we could maybe either check out Vasily's or try to see what went down in the town square. So yeah, that sounds good. Keep going to the Blue Water Inn. Do you want us all to do stealth?
It depends how you all want to move. If you're still trying to sneak around, then yeah, we'll end up having you do stealth.
Yeah, I'm trying to say sneaky too.
So as you guys kind of clear out different areas, you do start to notice that there are still echoes of things kind of happening around town. You pick up a few screams here and there that are kind of coming just over the wind. Whatever is going on still might be happening, though it seems at this point in where it kind of sits day-wise, it might be a little bit more reserved than it was. But you're able to kind of make it to the back of those houses. The Blue Water Inn is ahead of you, and you can cross the street, making it to their barn. And as you kind of approach a little bit closer to the Blue Water Inn, it doesn't seem active. From the side here, it seems like there's some damage to one of the back doors. And perhaps it was attacked, but it at very least has not been burned to the ground.
The back door looks like we may be able to get in. Let's cautiously enter.
Following.
Can I, if I press that you're up to the against the door, could I hear like anything from inside?
Roll a perception check. As you try to listen, you don't really seem to be picking anything up at this point. There's probably nobody in here.
He relays that to the others.
I think we should take a look while we're here and see the condition. Maybe we could find a bird. So I'll sort of like creep inside. Is it dark? Is it lit at all?
Everything is unlit as you enter. You very God damn it, you pick up none of this. The others very quickly smell the scent of what is effectively a barn. You very quickly recognize that this is kind of like a little bit of a stable area for people who are staying at the inn. And it seems like there may be some creatures still here, but you effectively... damn, there's 2 back doors here. Kavi, do you approach... one back door is staired, and the other back door is simply a door. The more damaged door is the... Both of them will be damaged, I think. You can see signs on those doors that it's been assaulted.
Does one look more damaged than the other?
I hate you all. Pick a door. Like, you can do another perception check if you want to see if one is more damaged than the other.
Are they facing like the same cardinal direction?
The southern door is more damaged than the other.
All right, I'll go for the southern.
All right, you guys enter into the stable. Sarkis, you do not understand that this is a stable, because you cannot smell anything. As you open up the door, though, there's little more than the actual light of kind of gloom entering through the door. You see that you're basically inside of 2 walls. There is a ladder ahead of you that seems to go to a higher level, more or less a dirt floor with scattered hay around in front of you, but pretty much this area is rather well kept. You can just tell pretty quickly that this is not really like an entertaining area.
So I guess once we're inside, I'm gonna try to announce myself to see if we get any response.
What do you have in mind to say?
Anyone there? Any survivors? It's Sarkis, Shadowstep, and the adventuring party. We mean you no harm.
You hear the neigh of a horse. And it kind of responds in like 2 quick neighs, and then like a longer one that kind of like draws off. And it seems to be coming from the southwest of you. But it's very peculiar because this isn't like just something that's like whinnying. This seems to be like a weird reaction for a horse to kind of respond like that.
Can I tell if it's really a horse?
How would you be able to tell that?
I mean, we've been around horses for most of our lives, and...
So insight? Like, I'm trying to say, like, be creative and tell me, like, what you're trying to test about the horse.
Is this some guy just trying to signal us?
Do an insight. Seems like a horse. It's just responding in a really weird way to the way Sarkis just announced himself.
I'm going to whisper to Sarkis that we should look into what's up with the horse.
All right, I will pull out my tinderbox and light a torch, and then approach the horse.
So as you get to the center of the room, you do see that there's a second level above you. There are 4 stables in each of the directions around you. As you light the torch, you see that there are double doors to the west of you, as well as a door that leads to the east and another door that leads to the south. So you have many entrances and many exits to this area. You can tell that there is at least some platform above you that you could climb up to, but for now you don't necessarily know what is up there at present. But you guys can approach to the southwest there, where you do in fact see a horse inside of that stable, and it seems to be kind of reacting to you, and it seems to be both looking at you as well as kind of like nosing the entrance to its stable, the actual gate.
I want to go over to the horse and make friendly and try to search its saddlebags and such. See if we can get any idea who it belonged to.
Animal handling and then investigation. As you go to look through its saddlebag, it just kind of pushes you away from it, and you are unable to get into it. It just moves its nose down to your body, and just with the full force of its head, just pushes you right out of the stable.
And when you said it was nosing towards like the gate, did it feel like it was trying to signal us something, or did it feel like it was trying to be like let out? Like, do we get any kind of inclination what it wanted?
On some level, I'm assuming Flea has already opened the gate, but yeah, it was nosing like, open the gate for me.
Yeah, I got you. And then do we get an idea from where we're at, which way we need to go? Is it just to the east to like get into the actual bar, or do we feel like we need to go up a level? Like we're not in like a basement right now, are we?
I should be able to tell with keen mind, correct?
Yeah, you guys would know that you have essentially entered off to the west side of the actual bar, and you are probably around the back of the bar itself right now.
Okay, so if I guess I'll just keep going towards that door on like the westmost portion of the main building.
Okay, so you're going to the east. You're going like underneath that the walkway up to the east, and you're going to open that back door.
Yeah, correct.
The horse is going to walk out of its stable, and it's going to kind of like nudge the actual like back door. And when it sees that it's locked, it's going to start to head towards the door that you all came in through. So as you open, what was that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, does it look like it could fit out that door, or does it look like it needs to be let out the main door if it was gonna leave?
You hear as you're opening the next door, the horse seems to have gotten itself like stuck into into that smaller door, and it was like incapable of getting out, and it kind of like takes a few moments. You hear it kind of like knock up against the walls of the other stables like on that north side, and then after a little bit, like it kind of like slowly backs itself back into that room, just like with tiny little steps before it's like back in the central portion, and then it just like starts to stare off at that western door.
Okay, I got you.
But you open up that eastern door as you kind of look back into it. It seems to be a storage closet. There doesn't really appear to be much in here other than like cleaning supplies. Some of it is related to the stables. Some of it is perhaps related to the bar itself or the inn itself. But in particular, like there's nothing extremely special about what you see inside of here.
I remember the inn being much larger than this. Maybe this is just a closet. Try one of these doors. And I'll make my way down to I guess the only other one that looks like it like leads towards the building and not back outside. So that southern door.
That leads you back outside, and as you kind of like look around, you see that there is another set of stairs off to the east of you. that seem to go back inside, right around where that closet is.
I'll try to like signal to the party that we need to go out that way.
I'm right with them.
If we can sneak around and in this main door over here, I'm not sure this is connected.
The horse kind of like noses at the double gate on the west side as you all like kind of walk behind it and move down towards the south.
We'll be back for you, big guy. Don't worry. We're not just going to leave you here, but not quite ready to just let you out and roam around. I'm not sure you'd be safe, okay? And I don't know how, is it close to me right now or?
You said you're like approaching that southern door and like looking, like calling everybody to that stairway.
Yeah.
So it's like 15 feet away. It's like with its body face towards that western door, but its like head is kind of like along the line of the hall that you're standing down, and it just gives like a double neigh again, like a little bit shorter of a first, and then a second neigh that's almost the same length.
All right,
Ooh.
hang tight. We won't forget about you. And I'll pull out something that I have to eat and try to like give it a little bit of food and comfort it a little bit.
Do an animal handling with advantage. It takes, I'm assuming it's like a ration or something.
Yeah, who knows what kind of stuff a little halfling would have stashed away.
Do you have peppermints? I know you got some Werther originals.
Got Werther's originals. I have some cinnamon candies.
It eats the cinnamon candies.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, we always used to feed the horses peppermints, so I feel like on some level that's like their bag. It's like that spiciness.
All right, and then I'll make my way back out and go back to the original plan.
So you're heading towards that southern door.
Yeah, I just didn't want the horse like going nuts in here, bucking and kicking the shit out of everything.
You see again, this door is damaged on some level, as if something was trying to get in. Do a strength check as you try to open it.
Just gonna assume I roll a 2.
Pretty close. So it does appear. It does appear to be barred shut. The door doesn't really budge as you go to open it. But from what you can tell, like, unless you want to try to save face, like, you might just not be strong enough to open the door.
I'm gonna dig through my.
Let me.
I'm gonna dig through my pack for a little bit, and then I'm gonna pull out my crowbar.
Darkus, let me try.
2 hands is better than 1. You use your hands, I'll use the crowbar. I think we could probably get it together.
So do a strength check as well. You guys do pop the door open. As you like get it open, like it almost like smashes up against the back wall as it kind of opens, and you hear like the crash of wood as there's like a barrel basically that was kind of wedged up against this door, and it like shatters on the opposite side and kind of like explodes into shards as essentially the Cooper's bindings to keep the wood in place like all kind of give way, and it's almost like the spring of the metal that kind of gives, and you see that you're in again another small kind of closet, but this one actually is like a good deal larger, and across on the distance you can see signs of more kegs, and you're pretty sure these are going to be kegs of wine from the Wizard of Wines, as well as a door off to the north. But you feel like you've gotten into like probably a more likely spot that is like a main entrance as far as the Martikov family who runs the Blue Water Inn goes.
This squiggly line, what does that represent as we're heading in the door?
A wall. I'm not really sure why it's there.
I want to try to listen at the door, see if we can hear anything.
Roll a perception. You don't really pick up anything on the other side here. As far as you can tell, there's nobody inside of that room.
I'll hold up the crowbar and look at Flea and say, "Shall we?"
I'm going to try to open it as silently as possible.
Do a stealth check. You very slowly open the door. As you see light entering into this room, you see the door to the west that you're pretty sure like is where the other entrance that Kavi was looking at when you first walked up to this area. And then you see like a little bit of a table. You see like a workspace that perhaps cooking was done, and the hearth kind of show up in the light. And the door is like about halfway open at that point, and there doesn't appear to be anybody. As you start to push it open a little bit further, you see the rest of that cooking space and another bit of storage on the east side of this room. There's a couple of windows on the northern side that are scattering just a little bit of dim light into this room. But from what you can tell, this seems to be the kitchen, and it does not seem to be occupied. And then once you guys enter into the room, you see that there is another door to the southeast of you.
The hearth still warm or hot?
Go roll a perception check. The hearth probably hasn't been stoked for a good long while. You're able to spot a few very tiny coals in there that maybe tells you that perhaps they had a pretty strong fire preparing for like dinner time yesterday, and then no wood has been added since for probably about the last, what is that? It's like 1 or 2-ish, so probably about the last like 20 or so hours it has gone without. So some of the larger logs might have left these final coals. There doesn't appear to be any food over the fire, but it does appear that there was some cooking material kind of left out in the preparation area.
Keep looking. I don't know where they'd be held up. I suspect this place is abandoned, but come this far. And I'll head over towards that other door.
Solar will kind of like look over and say, if this is the kitchen where Urwin did all of the prepping, then we are likely to find that that is the entryway for the actual dining room and the tap room.
Agreed. Give it a shot. Is that like a handle door or like a door?
All of these are the same kind of handle where it's really just like a block handle. There's not really like a like doorknob or anything.
I'll try to take a shot at that door and just gently, quietly open it up.
Do a stealth as you look into it. I think I figured out what the squigglies are.
I do have a
Yeah.
23, so I don't know how stealthy I can be.
You slowly open the door. You do start to see like the bar on the opposite side. A few of the tables are kind of the first thing that you see, and then you start to see the bar to the south of you, and it seems like this room is empty. So as you all enter into it, you confirm that it seems like the lower floor of the Blue Water Inn at present is all abandoned. So I think the squigglies were meant to be maybe like a mezzanine kind of level where they could load those barrels and then they can tap them on the other side of the room. But that's kind of just my guess.
Place looks abandoned. Should we try upstairs and see if someone's hiding out?
Sarkis, the dimensions here aren't right. Out of character. With keen mind, would I be able to see the blind area or be able to realize that my dimensions are wrong?
I need more clarification. I don't know what you're asking.
Right between the room where the kegs are standing up and the barn area, or whatever you want to call it, there's a black area which would be a blind space. Would my keen mind be able to realize that the dimensions are not right?
I mean, architects leave dead space in houses on a regular basis, so I'm not sure if that's really enough for you to understand that I have not revealed that portion of the map.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, I'm gonna head upstairs and try to see if there's anybody up there.
I'm backing you up.
Am I able to hear anything coming from the upstairs?
Roll a perception. I believe that would be an advantage. As you kind of like pull everybody to kind of like hold their movements for a few moments, and you give a listen, you don't really hear anything coming from the balconies. You're pretty confident that there's probably not anybody on the second level. But you do hear like faint signs of clicking. Can't quite make out what it is, but you do hear something is kind of inside of this business, and it's like kind of just like a click or a tap kind of thing.
Am I able to hear like a general direction it's coming from?
It would be from like the balcony above you. It's like this place. You can't really make out what direction it is.
Well, as we're going up the stairs, I'm gonna sort of like whisperedly announce myself again. Davian, any of the Martikovs. We mean you no harm. It's Sarkis and the crew. Are you here?
You said as you're going up the stairs?
Yeah, I think like as I'm like coming up towards like the top of the stairs, kind of like getting ready to crest it, sort of like trying to be sneaky and quiet, but also like announce myself if there's somebody up there so they know like, it's us. Don't like just randomly attack, nor do you have to be like afraid.
As you get to the top of the stairs, you start to see signs of essentially there are 3 doors on this balcony, and there are 4 doors on the opposite balcony to the southeast of you. that enter from the outer stairway. And I think last time we would have had you all stay in, I think what it would have been was Kavi and Sophia would have stayed in that like southeast door, and then the rest of you all would have stayed in that southern door. So you would know that that is like a double bedroom as well as a 4-bedroom spot. So those would be the rooms that you're vaguely aware of. And at some point, do you have a question?
No, sorry.
At some point, I'm not sure if she would have necessarily picked it up, but Kavi would have seen the bard who was here playing music from time to time would have actually gone up these stairs to return when she kind of played him off the stage, and he went to that southernmost door. So as you kind of call off to the group, you actually see as that door kind of opens, and you see the familiar face of that bard kind of peek out, and he... Is it safe? Are they at the doors?
Oh, it's you. I can't say it's safe, but we haven't encountered anyone else. Are you here alone? Where are the Martikovs? Where are the employees?
I'm not sure if anyone remained here last night. Seemed like when everything started, the inn was beset. All of the doors seemed to be surrounded as if they were trying to break in, but they never came.
No one else was in here with you?
I don't believe anyone else was staying at the inn at the time. When the Martikovs started to move away, I didn't really know what was happening at first, but I finished up and made my way up to bed with nobody to play to. I had no reason to be playing music last night.
Did you see Davian, or do you know where the Martikovs were headed?
When I turned in last night, it was just Urwin and Danica. I think the boys had already turned in, but I do not believe I know of a Davian.
Davian is Urwin's father. When you say boys, are you talking about the hunters, or are you talking about the sons?
My bad. I don't know if it is you or my speakers that are going in and out, but I did not catch that, and I think it's just my earbuds.
I just said Davian is Urwin's father, and then we're looking for them. And then I was asking if by boys, if he was talking about the hunters, or if he was talking about the what's her name, sons. Lady Walker's sons, Kyle and Nikolai.
Well, the Walkers did not come by last night. There was nobody in the bar. The hunters, I think they have been gone for some few days. Didn't they take you somewhere?
Yes, they're here with us now. We met back up with them. You have two choices. You can stay here and fend for yourself, hide out as best you can, or you can stick with us. Not sure which one is safer, but perhaps safety in numbers if you'd like to join.
I am no fighter. I am an entertainer. Don't think I can help.
Understood. Well, stay here or come behind us and try to bar up the door so no one can find you as best you can.
Yes, I'm a bard.
I meant like seal the door so no one can get in, but yeah, that's fine too.
Oh, yes. Good idea.
Lay me off, Johnny. With that, I guess we'll probably keep moving. Is that what everybody's thinking?
Yeah, I'm backing you up.
So he kind of just like points off, like yeah, I think he's just gonna close the door and just kind of like silently disappear into that southern room.
All right, so I'm thinking that. Damn, I think this might be the page of notes that I'm missing. What was the guy's name who let us into the town when we were locked out that night?
That was Vasily.
Should we try to make our way to Vasily's or go to the town square?
If we go to the town square, we should probably be stealthy about it in case other people are around.
If we head to the town square, I suspect we'll run into someone and he may not like what we find. I don't know where else the Martikovs would be hiding, though. Not sure where we would find them.
Okay, then let us go.
All right, so I guess we're gonna go to the town square and try to be stealthy about it.
Before you like kind of leave that second level, Szoldar is going to point off to the southern, like southwestern door, and he's going to say, "When we've been here in the past, the boys seem to play up here, and I believe that is their room. Do you not think if these are where the Martikovs sleep, that we should check to make sure that they are not in their rooms and just quiet?"
Which boys are you talking about? I thought when he said the boys, he was talking about the hunters. Did I misunderstand that?
Bray and Bram, they're young children. They play up here, and I believe that is their room.
Ah, are those Urwin's sons?
Yes.
We'll check. So I guess I'll go over to the door and open it up.
So as you open that door, do a strength check. As you go to move it, like you feel like the door will move, but there might be like a locking mechanism that is actually holding this door locked shut right now.
Hey, see if you can pick this lock. And while I'm waiting for him to walk over, I'm just gonna kind of whisper into the door. We're friends of the Martikovs. Is anyone in there? We're Davian's friends.
There doesn't seem to be any response to the whisper. But
What do you
if you
want me to roll?
roll 2d6. So as you kind of like look over this handle, there's not an explicit lock on it, but as you're kind of looking over the handle, you do spot that there seems to be some sort of lever mechanism kind of hidden inside of like the underside of the handle. And as you kind of start to manipulate it, you can feel a little bit of tension that as you kind of work the handle, you can almost manipulate this tension on there. And you're able to do a little bit to manipulate it. And you keep trying to open it, but it seems to fail you. You have proficiency in lockpicking tools?
Yes, I do.
Do a reroll of those 2d6 again. And it takes you a moment where you like fail on the first go, and it gives you a much better like interpretation of how there seems to be like maybe a weighted lever that across the opposite side of this door there's like a mounted little mechanism, and you're able to pull the tension off of it, finding that perfect little even point, and the door opens for you smoothly. As you open up, you see that there is a bed on the north side, a bed on the south side, and I believe, I can't quite see it, I think it's going to be a chest in between them. Yeah, and I think that'll look more like kind of like a, almost like toy chest as you kind of look to it. But it otherwise seems to be a well-kept room. Roll an insight for me. The room seems a little bit too well kept. These, like the signs of these boys, the way Szoldar would have described them, is they're young children, like 4 and 8, I believe. For a room so neat and tidy as this, it just doesn't quite make sense. So something seems off about this room.
I'd like to search for inconsistencies and traps.
What do you mean by inconsistencies?
Like, are there trapdoors anywhere? Is there a latch on the trunk? Is it locked? Is it trapped? Do I see anything that could be a
If you're
moving
searching
panel?
for all of these different things, it's going to be a much higher DC for what you're looking at. So try to narrow down what you're searching for. Otherwise, you can roll an investigation.
Okay, I'm looking for hidden panels or sliding panels that may lead to another room or such.
All right, go for that roll. There seems to be a panel in the ceiling that can drop out in the southeast corner of this room.
I'm going to wave everybody over and point up to it very quietly. And kind of shrug, should I go for it or not?
How like what's the height difference between like where they are in the ceiling?
I think it's probably going to be about 10 or 12 foot high ceilings, so it's probably a little bit beyond everybody's reach at that point. But Solar will come in and he'll kind of point Flea up to his shoulders and just kind of offer like that assistance of, I can help you stand up taller to it.
Okay, I'll quietly get up on his shoulders and I want to inspect to see if there's any traps around that panel.
Roll an investigation. Seems to be trapped.
I'm going to back away and hop down on the floor and explain it to everybody.
There seems to be a trap that's like ready to go off when you lift this panel out of the way.
I'm thinking I'm going to ask everybody if I should just stand at the doorway and shoot it with an arrow.
What kind of trap? Like a bucket of water?
I think it's a little more than think it's a little more than that.
Is anyone up there? Hello?
Doesn't seem to be any response.
Marcus, would you
Hoist me
like
up
to-
there. Let me poke it with my stick.
What were you saying, Flea?
I was going to recommend that Sarkis try his staff, and I'm going to try to move away from him a bit.
So Szoldar can help you up on his shoulder, or you can do some dope ass monk shit and arrive up on his shoulders. But you can poke at it with your stick.
Nice, I'll do that.
That happens, and as you poke at it with your stick and you kind of lift up the top, a bunch of hay falls down on top of you. Roll a sneeze check at advantage.
Is a sneeze check?
It is indeed a sneeze check to see if the allergens of all of the hay cause you to sneeze. It's a very vicious
Okay.
trap.
Is there like a specific roll that I need to make?
Oh,
for
my
that?
bad. Constitution check. Solar sneezes. You do not. As you release it, and hay kind of falls down and coats a good portion of this room in, oh man, I'm trying to think of the word, but it's really not a matter. It's like dust, hay dust. You kind of like poke up, and you're probably still a little bit too short to really get a view inside of there. But you do hear a little bit of what sounds like some sort of speech coming from up above. Roll either an insight or a perception for me. You can recognize that this is like raven chatter. That you've likely found the Martikovs, and perhaps that they are all in raven form right now.
Hello, it's me, Sarkis, and the crew. No one else here but the bard. Come out. Need to speak with you. We've been looking for you.
And then you hear a little bit of quiet before you start to hear like a off-axis thump almost, and it's pretty it reminds you of Davian walking with his cane, and he's like, you've come all the way to Vallaki? The devil didn't kill you? That's astonishing.
We made it out of there with some of his favor. We were able to save Kavi. She's back with us now. Unfortunately, a couple of the other party members left unexpectedly, but we went looking for you. The druids appear to have taken back the vineyard. I suspect you already knew this, though.
They seem to have awakened some sort of creature. Their chanting was rather horrendous. But we flew away as quick as we could. We don't assume things bode well for wine in these parts in the future. But all things must pass. So too with the Wizard of Wines.
Type of creature. You're not talking about that giant tree, are you? Something else?
Tree, yes, that's likely it. It seemed a little more alive than a tree, than any tree I've seen. Uh, the blood that it shed was horrendous. Every movement seemed to crack its bark, and it bled human blood. It was just too much.
sounds quite horrendous indeed. How many druids did you see?
We didn't really take too much time to look. I don't think any had really shown themselves beyond the edge of the tree line. They must have been coming from Yester Hill. What horrendous rituals they've done there, I don't know, but that's where the tree came from, to the southeast.
We killed one in our campsite that night, and we'll pause for a minute. And another today in the woods, coming this way. We will continue to dispatch them, and we'll have the vineyard back when the time is right. But in the meantime, we need to know what's going on here. It appears like Valaki's have been slain, or at least overthrown. Or Valikovich.
Urwin will take form, and you guys can either come up into the loft, which is basically just like the attic of this place, and it's just lined with hay. I did not upload it because it is a simple hallway. But it's very clearly like a crow's roost up there, and you can notice from the crows, or ravens? Damn, I feel like I always switch them. Ravens. You notice from the ravens that there are some ravens here that seem to actually understand the conversation, and you can watch their heads go between the people who are talking, and other ravens that are very much acting like birds. So while there's probably a good like 50 or so ravens in this top area right now, there is probably, like a half dozen or a dozen of them seem to be awakened, or rather the ones that you can assume take human form. But right now, Davian is in human form, and then you'll see as Urwin takes form, and he kind of like leans down and sits Indian style next to Sarkis, and I believe Lady Wachter has been waiting for some time, but it seems that she made a play to take the city. It does not bode well for the Vaktoviches. I believe we will find... Damn it, the Valakoviches. I believe we will find that they are dead. As some of the rumor, it seems that they got the Baron during the Festival of the Sun, and they strung him up with the sun he intended to burn. He would have been consumed in the conflagration. I do not believe we will find him again. What has happened to his wife and their son, I do not know. But we locked up what we could at the first signs of things going. But the creatures that roamed last night were not just her followers. There was more in Vallaki yesterday than just humans.
Empires, perhaps?
I am not sure what the creatures were. We did everything we could to seem as abandoned as possible. It seems some things were trying to get in, but among the screams we heard plenty of howls, as if the Lady Wachter had the wolves of Strahd behind her. If she had more of his creatures, I would not be surprised. You said Orlando remained? He is still here? I am so sorry, I had forgotten that he was even here yesterday. It all happened so much. I saw some of the movement, and I sent for the hunters to check out what they could at the Wizard of Wines, but it was foolish. I could have been killed had they done anything to us. I don't know how much they know of my family, but we constantly worry that we are high on the list of enemies to be removed. It was perhaps a blessing that they passed us by, but from what we can see from above here, much of Vallaki suffered in whatever went down yesterday.
Did you see what creatures the servants of Strahd were? All the guards that we saw at the northern gate appeared to be killed by a bladed weapon.
I think much of the fighting yesterday was certainly Vallakians. I think it was those who support Lady Wachter, and I think those who perhaps did not know that they had to pick a side, those most slaughtered. I saw some creatures moving on 4 feet, but we did not venture far from the inn. We did not want anyone to see us flying, and we knew that remaining hidden would perhaps be our final line of defense, and that if they did do something to the inn, we would be able to flee as a group, and under the safety of murder, we would be able to escape. I don't actually know like everything that goes along with calling a group of ravens a murder. Whether it is under the safety of the murder, we would be safe to escape.
You made the right decision to stay out of sight and protect your family.
Seems the burgomaster, as well as the church, were among the main targets. But it also seems that many homes were destroyed in whatever celebration she has decided to bring down on us.
Yes, it's very unfortunate that Vallaki was the last or only sanctuary in these lands, and it appears that it's no safer than anywhere else now. We did make an interesting discovery when we were at Castle Ravenloft.
I don't know how I said it with Davian. So I feel like you'll see a little bit of a sign of surprise from Urwin as you frame it like that. But again, I think that's more me as the person forgetting how the conversation went. Whether this is like being interpreted as like the first clue that you guys were visited upon as such by Strahd. So he'll kind of like react with a little bit of surprise as he says, "You were in Castle Ravenloft? What did you find?"
Yes, did your father not tell us? Strahd paid him a visit, and we were persuaded to join him. We had the opportunity to venture to the Overlook and found some curious remnants, some droppings of what appeared to be ravens. Are you in cahoots with Lumella?
You'll see as the two in human form right now kind of look to each other, and Urwin kind of looks back at you and he'll say, Hmm, our relationship is strained. Not surprised to find that something slipped his mind. Perhaps all things as they may be. Perhaps it is all of the happenings that made him forget to share this information. But we do not serve the Lord. And you'll see as one of the other ravens who are following the conversation turns to a human form, and you will see this is the daughter of Davian, who you all would have met, Stefania Martikov. And she will approach and at that moment kind of put her hand on her brother's shoulder and say, I have been entertaining Ludmilla for quite some time. She finds me a pleasant ear to speak of, and perhaps a memory of Strahd's own mother?
God wished for us to reveal his betrayer, but we served up another and kept this secret to ourselves. Perhaps you would be so kind as to elaborate.
I do not believe there is much to share with you. I think you will find that Ludmilla is a stressed individual, and she enjoys an ear to speak to. And I think she recalls ravens as friends of the family, and perhaps enjoys the idea that perhaps she, like the Lord, the Devil's mother, is following in her footsteps, as she's keen to imagine her marriage as much more like the Devil's father's and his mother's than perhaps what she really is.
Interesting indeed. So she knows not that she reveals Rod's secrets or discloses her knowledge and confidence to the family of Davian?
How much they know of our affliction is perhaps something we will never know. She has revealed little that would tell me that they understand what we are and what our presence in this land is. From what we have ever known, they know us simply as a family who married into the Wizard of Wines. A family that died off and has become the Martikovs, who own and operate the Wizard of Wines. They don't seem to understand that the affliction shared with the Devil's pet wolves has turned into other creatures. At least, what she shares doesn't lead to believe these things. I do not believe we have the eye of the devil upon us, but it is certainly hard to tell everything that he believes. For I do not believe any single of his wives would know everything that he holds in confidence.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, your secret is safe with us and best kept indefinitely, if it should be possible. I'm glad that you were able to hide out here, but I'm not sure what good we can do for this town now, or for anyone. Is there anywhere safe in this land where you can flee to away from this?
Um, I think Urwin would respond. There has long been little or no safety left to these towns. We have a few barrels of wine that perhaps could open the gate of Kresk, and we might find ourselves safe within their walls beneath the abbot. But for our family, if we do abandon the inn, I think it may be time, with the end of the wine in these lands, that perhaps we keep to the sky itself for safety. I am not sure there will ever be a safe harbor for the Martikovs again.
We will do everything we can to try and take back the vineyard for you, but we've lost two of our companions, and without them, I don't know how powerful we would be, or if we'd be any match for the druids and this blood tree and whatever magic it holds. But we would do our best to help you. But perhaps you are right. The longer we spend in these lands, the more powerless we feel.
Davian will respond to you. I felt when we were interrupted by the devil that perhaps they had taken the last stone to their hill. Perhaps the ritual was a use of that stone. Maybe it resides there. It's hard to tell whether the witch would give it up or not, or if she even knows that the druid has done it. But with the coming of her scarecrows, we have given up most hope of ever regaining the vineyard itself. I do not believe that you will find crops remain, if they have even let the vineyard remain now. I believe that tree was summoned for the destruction of the Wizard of Wines. I think it's all over now. But those stones, whatever the wizard put into those, they were the last thing that could allow growth and life in this land. There is something important that remains to be found with them. We perhaps know of two. One with the witch, and one with the druid.
Can this spell be undone? Is it too late to retrieve these stones? And oh, so many questions. Where does the witch reside, and what druid? Is there a leader amongst them?
Urwin is going to look to you, and then he'll look to the two hunters. And you were already on her tracks when you hired these men 3 nights ago. They were taking you to her land. She is a foul creature in a swamp we no longer name. Like the devil's name, it is a cursed thing, and it must not be said aloud.
Near the castle?
In the lands that were flooded, and I'll look back towards Davian, generations before my father, some of the last of the free folk of this land were destroyed in the deluge of the river Luna. It has turned that whole land into a swamp. But it is well south of what can only be Arkenvostolt. But that you know of his castle is perhaps too much already. But I believe Muriel said that's where she found you. Both are cursed places that the devil removed for their treachery and for their disobedience.
Our next course of action is clouded. So many options, and not sure which the most beneficial or most attainable. The stones seem rather powerful, but if we were to retrieve them, how would that help in freeing these lands and restoring the life and destroying the one who rules over them?
Perhaps none of it can help, but we have long provided wines to these lands so that the people who do live here have some respite from all of the terribleness that happens around us all. There's perhaps little virtue to allowing people to drink away their pain, but it has long been in our family. We were the winemakers. Before it was Martikov's, it was still our family who raised that wine. It's still in our blood. When Strahd took this place, and the wizard was run off from that land, we have honored that tradition, and we've thought whatever our own affliction might be a way of punishing us for our choices to remain to the side in this fight. But we have always thought that we made the right choice to keep eyes on the devil and to bring what we can to the people of this land. If that is not a reason to save the gems, I cannot give you any others.
And does this tree have something to do with the other gem? Is there a leader amongst the druids that we can find and seek out to retrieve this?
Druids are little more than wild folk. Many of the druids are likely the people who lived in this land long before it was Barovia. I think their suffering has come as a side effect to whatever punishes this land. But I do not know if they have any sense of leadership or if they have any society at all. Flea, Kavi, have you two any thoughts in all of this?
I was thinking we should probably figure out which is the easiest, the druid or the other one, and go get some stones.
I'm also thinking getting the stones is also important, but maybe finding like a better safe spot for the Martikov might also be a priority.
I mean, we were already talking about going to the swamp, and we wound up kind of sidetracking.
Baba Lysaga is no enemy to take lightly. I sent Muriel after you because, and Urwin will look to Yevgeni and Szoldar. Though perhaps their greed got the better of them, there is no sense in throwing your lives away, fighting the witch who fancies herself Strahd's mother.
What was that name again?
Baba Lysaga? I feel like you guys would have heard Baba Lysaga already. I think Muriel might have named her when she first came to you all.
First time I've heard it.
Then maybe I shouldn't have shared it.
I have it now.
Okay, so sounds like we should probably go after the other one then.
Don't think we're in any condition to take back this town. Not now. Not from the ally of Strahd, but perhaps we can defeat the druids, destroy the tree, and maybe that will lead us to the other stone? You spoke of the hill. Is that where one of the stones are? You've spoken of three. It sounds like you know where two are.
Urwin and Davian are going to look each other as you say that, and Davian's going to point to his son, and at the same time, Urwin's going to deny. Davian's going to basically say, he lost it. It was on his watch. And Davian's like, not now, father. You damn well know I wouldn't have given up the stone. It was nothing that I could do. And they kind of just fall into an argument over the next 5 or 10 minutes. Nobody can get in edgewise. They are not paying attention to anybody else. They are purely locked in a very familial argument. And it's pretty clear to anybody with any sense of wisdom inciting this that this is the reason the two of them don't speak. And it's because Davian blames Urwin for having lost the first stone. And that continues on for about 20 minutes or so. Eventually, things kind of calm down a little bit between the two of them. And there is a knock on the door, the front door to the inn, down on the level where it's entering into the actual bar area. And you guys hear it a little bit faintly. Kavi, you hear the door kind of creak to where Orlando is staying in his room, as he seems to also have heard the knock. And then a minute of silence goes by, and there's another firm knock at the front door.
I'll go. They know we're in here. there's any danger, flee this place. Do not worry about our safety. And then I'll go to like shake Davian's hand, and then like quickly go like I'll just jump straight up in the air right above the like little trap door or whatever, and then I'll just fall like a brick straight down through the hole.
As you pop out of the door to the boys' room, the bard from behind you is going to say, "What are you doing? That was really loud. Is everybody okay? Is anybody dead?"
Not yet. And with that, I'm just gonna parkour right over the railing, just like
Don't do it. It's not worth it. Just run and hide. Running is always a better. And then he's gonna quiet as he sees you kind of like land on the lower level. And I'm assuming you no longer take falling damage, and that's why you're jumping off of everything.
oh shit. Oh, it's like my monk level times 5, so it should be 25 or less falling down.
Yeah, I didn't know when it actually activated. So yeah, so you like. What was that?
Oh, I just said yeah and laughed.
So you're just going up to the door and you're gonna open it and unlock it,
Yeah,
or rather,
okay.
just open it, kind of thing. Is everybody else staying up in the attic?
Obviously, with Markovs, I keep an ear out.
I'll go down into the children's room, but I'm not going to go any farther than that.
As you start to unlock the door, for the last time, the bard's gonna kind of like whisper down to you, and you'll just. Kavi probably hears this better than everybody else, but he's just gonna say one last time. He's like, "Running is always a better choice. Don't do it." But you can open the door. There's a pretty simple latch on the opposite side. It's basically like just a piece of wood that's kind of set on like a little bit of a lever action, and you're just kind of like moving it to a more vertical position, so it's not like set up against like a like almost like a U-hook on the like sill side of the door. But other than that, it's just the handle, and you probably hear the third knock at the door by the time you're getting to it there.
And I'll just be like holding my staff, like full on old man status, with my eyes like only half open. And as I open up the door, I'll say, "What's all the commotion down here? What do you want? We're closed for repairs, I mean."
Interesting. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised to see that you are in the Blue Water Inn. And you'll see before you Vasily. I'm glad to see that you are all okay. Is it just you? Have your friends stayed in Vallaki?
Oh, Vasily, good to see you again. We were actually planning to come see you. Quick, quick, come inside before someone notices you.
Thank you very much. And he will step through the doorway and walk into the inn. And you see him kind of like looking around a little bit. And then he'll just take a seat at one of the first tables and... I feel like I've understood they have had better service in the past. Perhaps we can grab our own drinks.
Yes, indeed. A couple of our friends have gone missing in the night. The paladin and one of the others. We don't know where they've gone, but you may remember my other friends, Avi and Flea. They're here with me now.
Ah, wonderful. That is excellent news. And unfortunate news. But I think all of us who have come to find ways to live in this land have come to terms with the fact that there are many who will enter our lives and soon depart, as not all paths lead in the same direction. Perhaps you will find your friends again in the future. Or perhaps they are already dead. It's always hard to tell.
Perhaps. One or the other seems probable. Vasily, let me ask you, how were you able to travel freely through the town? Where do you and Lady Wachter sit?
The Wachters have long been close to my family. While we were never royal or rulers of this land, my family also did not serve them. So I find myself in a unique position where I am neither friend nor foe for Lady Wachter. And I have certainly never been a friend of Baron Vallaki. To see, or rather hear, him burn was unfortunate. But nobody was fooled by his slogans and his malicious happiness. He was a terrible person and very much fit in this land of horrendous humans. But I walked here.
And while this coup was taking place, while the town was being ransacked and overthrown and burned, what were you doing during all this? Were you participating? Just sitting back and allowing it to happen? I'm curious.
Would it make you think less of me to know that I sat back and allowed it to happen? What can one man do to stop a town that rises up of its own desires? Is it my place to tell them that they should not want freedom to make their own choices?
I do not fault you for the decisions you make, but you must understand that sometimes all evil needs to prevail is for good men to do nothing.
I have never been accused of being a good man, but I do appreciate you. Yes, perhaps I was just a good man doing nothing. But whether Lady Wachter and her rituals are evil, or Baron Vallaki and his rituals are evil, I do not know which to say. But from my perspective, out with the old and in with the new. They did not bother my house. I was not inclined to intercede between what they were doing. And with enough wine, I was able to block the screams to where I was able to find comfort in the night.
And without prying into your business, the night that we met you, you left the next day. Where did you go? Where do your travels take you? And business do you do in these lands?
I told you then I had business in Kresk. It could not be delayed. Myself and the abbot had many things to discuss. And my business is that of any minor lord. I see to some happenings and am kept wise of other happenings. It is something perhaps a man of your cloth perhaps is not all that familiar with. But in large part, my visit to the abbot was little more than a formality to be held on a monthly basis. We meet, we share a bottle of wine, we enjoy food, and have conversation amongst friends.
Avi, Lee, come down here. It's our old friend Vasily.
I'll be right there.
Ah, excellent. Perhaps I will grab some more glasses. And he'll like walk behind the bar, grabbing a couple more glasses, and he'll pour some red wine into them. And he'll sit and just kind of start sipping at his own as I assume Flea comes down the stairs. And he just kind of looks expectantly.
Please, Leo, sit down and have a glass of wine and give greeting.
Hello, it is a pleasure to see you again. You look oilier.
Yes, but it does keep me dry. It is good to see you safe.
And a pleasure to see you as well. It is most unfortunate to hear that you have lost friends, but perhaps you are becoming less of a far traveler and might find yourself more of a Barovian than ever before.
Perhaps.
I was coming to visit the inn to see if there were any left remaining here who might need safety of a home, not in danger. I am quite surprised to see it has been left standing, but perhaps that is a benefit of how crazy last evening was. Perhaps the cult of Lady Wachter was not as rambunctious as it seemed at times.
What time of day is it?
You're looking at like 3-ish, 3 to 4 here.
We arrived only a short while ago. Not sure of the happenings. We mostly encountered a trail of destruction, but we're both pleased as well to find this place still intact, but did not find everything we were looking for, but we're next on our list, so perhaps it has led us here so that we could find you. And if we could, we would gladly take you up on the place to stay. I'm not sure for how long. I suspect we have more things to do and less time to do them, but do you travel freely throughout this place, even in its current condition?
Ending respect is for a lord to do. There are few commoners who would deny me what I require. I think as long as the creatures are not what we come across, we will likely find those who follow the Lady Wachter are not a threat. It is most unfortunate to see that there are no more of the Martikovs in this place. But unfortunate things happen in the night.
spoke of the abbot and now the Martikovs. Are they friends of yours? Allies? That's who we were looking for.
The abbot is perhaps the de facto leader of Kresk. Many speculate that it is the presence of the abbot in that town and not their high walls that keep the Lord Strahd's creatures at bay. But others may imagine that the Baron of Kresk has made other deals, perhaps. It is very hard to tell in these lands how everyone is affiliated and how everyone pays their homage that he requires. But I think we find over and over again, everyone pays. The Martikovs I've known for quite some time. I don't know if we are friends, but they do a great service for this land. Many of the people who I look to as my fellow citizens of this land, they are cared for by the Martikovs. And I think that means that they are close to I, even if perhaps they do not view me in the same way. But again, I find myself a contact between all of the people of.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, let me ask you this. Do you have a cart that a horse could pull? Big enough for a few barrels of wine?
I might have a wagon that could carry that. But why do you ask? I have no barrels.
Well, perhaps if the fates would allow it and opportunity would so arise, we could get a few barrels of wine together, and there's a horse out back, and perhaps convince the abbot to provide safety for the Martikovs if the opportunity should arise.
If there is a way that we can help the Martikovs, I think I could possibly help convince the Martikov. My apologies. I think I could possibly help to convince the abbot to help them. But they, as much as myself, know that the abbot is quite fond of them, and he has long been a friend of the family. They are the source of his wine, and he is a great enjoyer of their wine.
And let it be so. Should the opportunity arise, we will take you up on your offer, somewhere to stay, and use of your wagon as well. And Sarkis will spit in his hand and hold it out to shake.
Is my word not good enough for you? I would prefer not.
And he'll like sniffle a little bit and kind of like rub his nose with his other hand. Don't worry, it's not contagious. It's an affliction.
Yes. And all the same, a lord does not need to do that to find a contract binding.
Well, a lord does not need to do it, but perhaps he would choose to show good faith. And that's me making a persuasion attempt for him to
You,
take my soul.
you can roll a persuasion.
I don't know if you saw it was a 14.
He'll look to you and he'll. Are you sure we cannot seal it in a contract? I have paper, a pen. I can write this up very quickly if you do not take my word for it.
I would take your word just the same, but I've already spit in my hand and I'm holding it out here, so.
He'll hand you a tissue.
Then we have an agreement.
So you're going to clean up your hand?
What's that?
So you're cleaning up your hand and you want him to fill out the contract?
You need not take to pen and paper. We trust you in good faith. You've given us no reason not to believe you or trust you, so I understand that while my means may not be the most lordly, that there's no reason that we can't come to an agreement or a contract without taking to pen and paper or more primitive means. And I'll look down at my hand as I like kind of wipe it off.
Good, good. That pleases me greatly. But did you not say you are with one of your other friends? Is the Lady Kavi not here?
She may have fallen asleep or something. I'm not sure. Kavi!
She's just taking a while to get her legs to work. Be right down.
And you did not find anyone else here at all who might find themselves safer at my own abode?
And Circus will just kind of look at him, won't say anything, and then we'll say, "You'll have to excuse her tardiness. She was dead not too long ago, so she's still a little rusty and requires a little more time to prepare." And then he'll kind of wink at her and say, "Not just because she's a girl either."
Reborn so fast. Truly, these lands are mysterious. But you had
Not
mentioned
without
them.
great cost. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Not without great cost, but she was returned to us in as good a shape as she was in before, just a couple more days to recover fully.
I'm sure that is a most intriguing story. Perhaps I can have you tell me at some point. I would be most entertained to hear. But you had mentioned the Martikov's safety seemed paramount to you. But they are not here. We have no one else here that we can help take to safety in these trying times.
Can I insight check him?
What are you trying to look for?
I can trust him. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking at this point in time, the Martikovs have to have realized who we're talking to. I yelled out his name loudly multiple times, and they still haven't presented themselves. So while I'm hesitant to disclose that they're here, I also don't want to lie to him. But at the same time, I invited him in, which I know is like a weird thing in these lands because it's been like nuanced multiple times. So now I'm not sure if I have invited him in, if that's like dangerous. if that makes sense. If his, like, if he's not being honest, or if we can't trust him, or if he has, like, ill will towards the Martikov.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid DC, but you can definitely roll an insight check here.
Yeah, I want to use my inspiration on this. So 19.
Vasily knows too much. He has information that he shouldn't. He's clearly looking for other people that are here, and it definitely does not add up. He would not touch you. And perhaps it's because you spit in your hand. But you did invite him in. And perhaps it's time for you all to recognize that maybe Vasily is far more than he lets on to be.
Okay, cool. Well, we had two priorities when we came to this town: to find the Martikovs and see were they still safe, and if that did not work, obviously to find out what happened to this place, as we saw it burning. But after that, our only other priority was to find you, because we have no other allies in this town. We know no other people. We have no friends. But securing a bargain or laying a path to later travel down, should the situation arrive, is never a bad idea.
If you ever find yourself in times of trouble, please lean on me.
We will. We will, and we appreciate it. We will continue our search, and when the time is right, should the opportunity present itself, perhaps you will see us again tonight, and we will return and take you up on your offer. But know that we may need that cart, and we may need a place to safely rest our heads.
Make a deception check. He's going to look around the balcony, and you'll notice as his head certainly stops at the boys' room. Well, it's most unfortunate that perhaps something has changed, that you are not yet ready to accept my escort to where you need to go. But perhaps soon we will find each other again. I guess if I find the Blue Water Inn empty, it will be most unfortunate to know that I have lost more friends in this land. And he's going to finish his glass of wine, set down the glass, and walk to the door.
Glad that we found you, and we will see you again. Probably, hopefully, sooner than later, and all of us will be safe and in good health. With that, I bid you adieu, sir, and we will continue on our journey.
And a pleasant journey to you as well. And he'll bow his head a little bit, favoring a little bit to the right side, and he will reach for the door and step back through and off into Vallaki. He will walk out.